right, welcome everybody. Michelle Hasty Thompson here, otherwise known as Cornhole Mish, and I am here with Henry, and we are going to talk about staying mentally stable and focused in our cornhole games. So Henry's just going to talk a little bit about what's going on in his world, and then we'll see what we can do to help him out, and hopefully you can learn from what he needs assistance with. So I'll pass it to you, Henry. Tell me what's going on.
It's like during a lot of tournaments, it'll just be like one little thing, or even just the surrounding areas. I'll just lose focus and I can't just seem to get it back.
Now, are there times when that doesn't happen, like you're really locked in and you don't get distracted, or is it consistent that it's always going to be really
It
easy?
almost seems like when I'm just throwing with friends, like I seem to stay more focused, even though it's like not competitive. It's just, I don't know, it's just more fun for whatever reason.
Okay, so we could basically divide that into the play state and the flow state. So what I'm hearing is when you're in the play state, when you're more loose, you're actually able to stay more focused versus the flow state. So has there been times when you have consciously tapped into the flow state, like I'm going to lock into this game, and that's gone really, really well, even better than play state? Or do you feel like maybe you should be focusing more on trying to consistently get into that play state?
It almost seems like if I don't know the people I'm shooting with, it's easier to stay focused because there's less distractions. I don't feel like I have to have a conversation because I know who they are. I mean, the small talk here and there, but as far as like holding a conversation, I don't feel like it's as much as like when I go to a tournament that I don't know somebody.
Okay, so let's break it down to your best performance. Let's go to a specific time when you feel like you were locked in, played your best, through your ceiling, and talk to me about kind of what your thoughts and feelings were for that specific tournament.
And I don't know what it was. I hadn't thrown since I had my hip replacement surgery really like competitively. So it was just like a fresh new feeling. Like I was just getting back into the game and just, I didn't feel any pressure like what I was putting on myself before when I was throwing all the time. So it was almost like I was starting over all over again and just, I don't know, just throwing bags and having fun again.
And then were you still really wanting to win, or did you more go in just going, let's kind of see how it goes? I'm not really sure, that type of attitude?
Kind of the latter. Like I wasn't sure where I was going to be because I'd maybe touched bags maybe once after my surgery.
So prior to that tournament that you had a great experience, what was the pressure like?
I just felt like with as long as I've been playing the game and with as often as I was playing, I felt like I should have been more consistent and placing better than what I was.
And then what did you tell yourself was the reason you weren't as consistent?
A lot of it was focus or getting intimidated in a sense, because there's people that have been playing less time than me that are obviously moving up the ranks faster and stuff like that. And it just, I don't know, in my head, it was just one of those things where I should be better than that person. Nothing against them, but just the time and effort I put into the sport.
Yeah, totally get it. The funny thing about that statement, I should be better, and I know you're not talking about them, you're just really competing with yourself, right? Like,
right.
I should be better for how long I've been playing. They're just kind of someone that's highlighting that because they've been playing less. So I know it's not about them, but the funny thing about that sentence is it's not grounded in reality, right? Like it doesn't really matter what you should or shouldn't, because what is happening is what is happening, right?
Right.
We are where we are, whether we like it or not. This is very similar, and I don't know how many people know I come from the world of weight loss and wellness, and people tell me all the time, like, I shouldn't be gaining weight. It's like, well, that's great, but you are. You know, I mean, you can keep saying that over and over again, but it's not changing the reality of the situation. And until we accept where we are, we can't really get anywhere from that, right? Because we're basically starting out at a place that doesn't exist.
Right.
So the first step is always acceptance, right? And acceptance is not giving up. It's just saying, I am where I am. Like, I can't pretend I'm not. I can't even wish I wasn't, because until I actually claim this moment and like, right now I'm not playing my best, or right now I'm inconsistent, or right now I'm putting too much pressure, whatever today's reality is, that's the reality, right? It is what it is. I hate that sentence, but it is true. So that is kind of the first thing, is I would just get in the habit of catching yourself when you do that should game. Like, yeah, I should be better. I should be that. It's like, well, too bad. You're not, right? You are where you are. So, and I would just be curious to know more about what this word focus means for you.
I guess I'm kind of comparing it to when I played baseball. Like, I played baseball at a pretty decent level, and like I didn't give in to pressure. It never affected me. I was kind of the person that I wanted to be in the middle of it because I was a pitcher. So it's like I relished in those moments. I embraced it. I wanted it. And now it just seems like it's a whole different mentality. And I don't know if it's because I'm older, different mindset, having a family now and stuff like that. I don't know if that kind of plays a factor, not necessarily negatively, but just whole different, worldview. And if that's kind of making it to where I can't exactly embrace the pressure like I used to.
What age were you when you started playing baseball?
I was very young. First time I picked up a glove and ball and a bat was probably about 2 or 3 with my dad.
So do you have a memory of when you were confident, or do you just only remember being confident?
And when it came to baseball, I was pretty much just always wanting to play, always wanting to get better, and just I never really had a bad time. Probably until I was about 10, I think is probably the roughest time I had in baseball, and it was because I was playing against kids 2 years older than me.
Okay.
So just that transition from being one of the better kids my age to, hey, you're good enough, you're going to play on this team. We're jumping you up a couple of age groups, and just that age gap plus talent level, like it was just different from what I was used to.
Well,
so the learning curve was, the learning curve was a little steep. So.
Okay. But I think one thing that is difficult when we compare a sport that we take up later in life versus a sport we've played our whole life is there probably isn't that moment when you went from, oh my goodness, I'm really good at this, because it probably happened so young that your like core memories are just, this is part of who I am. It's what I do.
Right.
And so it's really difficult to compare that to cornhole that you picked up as an adult, and so you remember the first moment you picked up a bag, and you remember being potentially the worst person in the room. And then this transition has to happen where all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm actually really good at this. And actually, when I've interviewed pros, they can pinpoint a moment typically when it clicked, right? Maybe it was this one tournament when they went, whoa, I think I have like the potential to do something with this.
Right.
And so that moment is a little bit more difficult when you're picking up something later in life. And so I wouldn't compare it necessarily to your baseball career, because I think that's an unfair comparison. And think about how long you've been playing baseball. Like, you don't want to have to go play cornhole that long to get confident, right?
Right.
That's going to be a long time. But compare it more to like whatever you do for work, right? So when you first started off, probably with your job or your career or whatever you do for work, I'm sure there's a learning curve where you're like, man, this is difficult, or I'm kind of fumbling around, or I'm figuring this out. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm kind of in my groove. I'm kind of on autopilot. And then typically with our work, once we get that level of confidence, it doesn't waver as much. So if you had a really bad pitching day, whatever you would call that, or let's just say even a few rounds of that, what would you tell yourself?
I guess I was really in the mindset of, and it's kind of the same mentality I need to have with bags. Like if I had a bad pitch, just kind of short-term memory, like forget about it. It's done. You can't take it back. But
was that easy to do in baseball?
Yes.
And why do you think is it not easy here?
I honestly have no idea.
Do you think it's because the expectations that you have on yourself for some reason are just
that's probably a lot to do with it. Like I expect myself to be really competitive in everything I do. And just because I almost feel like I was pretty decent at cornhole when I first started. So that expectation of, well, I should get good quick, even because I already have like a decent basis, and I was okay when I started. Right. I felt like, but just I don't know. It just seems like I hit a plateau, and I've been there for a while. So I guess that's probably my biggest mental hurdle right now.
Yeah, that's what it's sounding as we're drilling down to, is this level of expectation. And I get it, because you already had a knack for it, which makes sense from pitching. And so your expectation for yourself was probably higher than, say, someone who's, never played sports and walked. Okay. So the key is that we want to stay in the present. And when we go into a game with assumptions, good or bad, it's still not allowing yourself to be here now, because the truth is you don't know. You don't know if you're going to play good or bad. We have to accept that part of sports and part of competition is that we're, this human side of us is going to get in the way of our performance at times. And that typically if it's not a pattern, there's nothing that we can or need to do about it. It's just part of life. Those bumps are to help us grow, and we use them to grow, and we work on our resilience and our mental toughness, and we move on, right? It is what that is the process. But the presence is what I'm hearing from you. So going in with assumptions of the outcome is already taking you out of the ability to be present bag to bag, game to game. And so what I would really work on for you is saying, I don't know what's going to happen ever, because you don't, even if you think you do.
Right.
So I can't control the outcome. I can't control how I play. I've all the training prior to this moment is what it leads to how I perform. So there's nothing I could do right now to make anything happen, right? If you haven't practiced in 7 months, then your expectation is lower, because you're like, why would I expect to do well? If you've practiced every single day, your expectation is higher because you've practiced. And that's kind of what I'm trying to break, is like not attaching any expectation to what you've done previously. You just want to come in confident. I've prepared. I've done everything I can do. I'm going to have fun and throw bags, and we'll see what happens. The attitude's kind of this, we'll see what happens, right?
Right.
My intention is to be present and connected and locked in and throw the way that I know I can throw. The truth is, I don't control any of that. So there's no point of having any kind of expectation of how it will go, but most importantly, B, attaching meaning to how it does go, because there's nothing you did purposely to create that outcome. You didn't go in and try to miss. You didn't go in trying to have a bad tournament. You did not go in trying to throw under your PPR. That's all stuff that just happens. And if it's not patterned, we don't even give it another thought. We only look at it later, post tournament, if it's patterned. Oh man, this keeps happening. I keep throwing right for like the entire day. Okay, now I need to go back to the drawing board and figure that out. Or I keep, getting so distracted and I'm not able to focus on the game. Okay, if that's a pattern, then we go back to the drawing board. But if we're talking about moments that just happen, then there's nothing there to look at. And even like I said, if there is, it's not to be looked at then. It has to be looked at later. You cannot, in the middle of pitching, start assessing what's going on in the game, right? Like you have to wait till it's over.
Right.
You can't like figure it out. Like, oh, I wonder why this keeps happening, and maybe I should do. Like, there's no time for that. You'd have to leave the game and like have a conversation with a coach or something. You couldn't just do it right then while you're pitching, right? So in cornhole, there's an illusion that we can, because it's a little bit slower paced. But mentally, we can't do that during a game. Our brains will go into that learning phase and go into like that over analyzing, and that is not what we can throw well from. So sort of some of the mantras for you are going to be like, stay here now, be where my feet are. I feel my feet on the ground. I feel the bag in my hand. So just becoming really present. When things go awry, it's a reminder of not now or not ever. Like, I can't deal with this right now, or maybe I don't need to deal with it ever because it's not a pattern, right? It happened once. So it can be more of like, oh, that's interesting. And if it keeps happening, I'll assess this later. But now is not the time. I just got to get back to the next bag in my hand. So really coming back to the present constantly. And it's that meaning that you're making that's pulling you out of the present, right? Like, oh man, that means I'm not throwing well. That means I probably need to make an adjustment, like all these assumptions, right? And you cannot think logically in that moment, because you're supposed to be somewhat offline, right? In the body, not up in the head. So it's just not the time to be like analyzing that stuff, because you won't do it well. If you are doing it well, then that means you're not going to throw well. You can only do one or the other,
Right.
Body or head. So if you're in the middle of a game, you got to go back to the body. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily, you've said the word focus, but I don't necessarily think it's a focus issue. I think it is purely just a completely staying in the present. So leaving expectations, leaving the outcome alone, not making meaning, because there's no time for any of that during the game. And then once I said post tournament, that's when you can decide if you want to go into all those things.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. So you said staying mentally stable, focused, and able to bounce back after inopportune moments. Do you feel like we handled that today?
Yeah, that was kind of like the whole bad shot thing. So
yeah.
Or just even like if somebody makes a good shot that obviously you can't control, like then that's probably where it's more so of like, all right, let it go. Like they made a good shot. You can't control that kind of thing.
Yeah, can't control yours or theirs.
Right.
You're really, I joke about the cornhole gods all the time, but it's not the cornhole gods, it's your arm that you've trained, but you still don't control your body. So you have to just let it and trust it and know that you've put in the time and effort and energy to teach it how to do the things it needs to do. And if you haven't, you're not going to fix it then anyway. So
Right.
it's like, it's all information. It's like, oh, wow, yeah, like we need to train this thing better when I get back home. Or I need to work on my ability to stay present. So I'm going to work on some, maybe meditation or mindfulness techniques, or it's, there's nothing to do here. Like it was just humanness.
Right.
So bound to happen. You're not going to throw a perfect game. So at least not consistently. So
Right.
it's, it's just part of where you're at. Right. Okay, cool. Well, I hope this was helpful. And if anybody can relate to what Henry is experiencing, please drop it in the comments. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.